Hey, oh, there we are. Welcome to Justice Serve TV. Thanks for dropping in. Michael Bryant here.
Yeah, it was an unscheduled one because we have some breaking news going on here, Michael Bryan, on two cases. The first one is the Harvey Weinstein case. He was arraigned here in New York City, right down the street from where I live. There was, he was in front of, actually, it was the big thing in front of P. Diddy, who we knew who his bail was going to be denied. But we have some exclusive information. Let me first tell you based on our information that the November trial date that was supposed to occur for Harvey Weinstein is going to be off, that the government will not be ready until at least January 2025. Now, you have some information about the alleged new accounts or the alleged new victim. Were there three counts as reported or
Yeah,
not?
that's a lie. That's a mistake. That's some misinformation. Obviously, we now know that it's one person, and it relates to a very specific time frame in April of 2006, a 1 week period. I think it's actually from the last day of March to the first 6 days of April, but it's a very finite period of time. And although we have not learned yet who that person is, they certainly are represented, and I know as time marches on, we'll get that information. But I
But what's
was,
interesting to me is that the defense does not have that information right now. It's still sealed. How
yeah,
can you actually defend a case, no matter who it is? Well, it can be the worst person in the world, unless you know who the alleged victim is that the government is saying. I mean, they've had this case for a long time. They can't tell us who the victim is. They can't tell the defense who the victim is. Forget us. Tell the defense.
you know what I think they could have done as the defense. Remember, they had to waive time to get this thing moved from November into maybe January. Who knows if that's really going to be the case? Because the longer they wait to learn, the longer the defense waits to learn who and when and a little more of the details, the better argument they have to push the trial even further out. So I don't know if this is helping anybody at this point in the process, but I do think it's interesting that that they wouldn't share that information, and that therefore they can't properly prepare. Therefore, they have the best argument ever to continue to press this. But did they waive time? They must have
I
waived time. And
a
I think
couple,
if I'm
yeah.
representing Weinstein, we're not waiving time. We're not waiving time until you give us that information. Then we'll
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah. By the way, hi Joanne. Hi everybody. Hi everyone who came on, or very quickly for our breaking news. And yes, why doesn't the statute of limitations apply? That's because there's been an issue in New York where they have said the statute. Oh, by the way, you're hearing my poker theme. By the way, you're getting some real inside information on my phone, which is where we get our information. Because New York has done away with the statute of limitations on a lot of different sexual assault situations. Some states have not. Some states have just done away with the statute of limitations on civil cases. So there you go. I think Michael Bryan is getting inside
I
information
know.
too. This is where we
Normally,
get it all. We can't
of
show
course,
it to you.
the statute would be told normally if the person is underage at the time of the alleged offense, or if there's some attempt to hide information, something that would toll the statute. But Governor Hochul has extended in only sexual assault cases, adults or otherwise. And I think that ends. Does that end in November of this year? I know that it has a time frame on it.
But that's for civil cases.
So
Okay,
for criminal, it's wide open.
it's wide open.
I mean,
We're wide open here.
which obviously has been challenged. But if they changed it and it's been applied
And we have some
retroactively,
other, but we do have some other inside information regarding that count. Okay, it's one count, right? And it involves not two counts, not three counts. It involves one victim, and it involves an alleged allegation of, my Catholic brain can't ever say this, oral sex. Okay,
yes,
because we were taught in Catholic school that doesn't exist, but it does exist in this case, and it's not something not to be laughed at or made fun of, because from the victim's point of view, it's very serious. From the defendant's point of view, obviously Harvey Weinstein entered a plea of not guilty, and he is considered now innocent of all these charges until proven guilty.
yeah. And as we mentioned yesterday, this now new alleged victim and the charges related to this person will be rolled into the retrial. That's what we think may be the biggest thing affecting the scheduling of this case. But that's the ultimate plan, and for judicial economy, makes perfect sense. Okay, let me give you a sense. Because I was immediately curious what was going on in April of 2006 in terms of the Weinstein Company. They were hot back then. They had a very long run before they kind of hit this Weinstein bump. In 2006, they had no fewer. This is mid 2006 to early 2007, because if this happened in April of 2006, then it could have been post-production on a project. It could have been in the field. It could have been a large span of projects. So I kind of narrowed it down to about a 12-month period. They had 21 projects underway then, including Hannibal Rising, which was the 5th in the Hannibal Lecter series. It's a precursor, a prequel, starring nobody you know. Dino De Laurentiis was one of the production companies involved. They did a film called Alone with Her. Colin Hanks was in that, which is kind of an ironic title, if that's somehow related to the alleged victim. Factory Girl, Sienna Miller, was underway then. And so was Kevin Smith's Clerks 2. So
Wow.
we don't know who was involved, where, when it happened, but just to give you context as to what was going on in the Weinstein Company at or about the time of these allegations.
But for our viewers who are watching, because you're all watching, and I can see that the charges, you're all interested in these charges against, and we're talking Weinstein re-indicted, one additional charge of oral sex. Trial date may be January 2025. But there was a lawyer out there, not Gloria Allred, another lawyer, saying that her client is ready, willing, and able to go forward and will testify at the trial, and her name will be known then. So I guess if you start Googling that lawyer and go back all the way for a period of time, maybe our viewers can give us some hints as to who the victim may be for the issue of how Harvey Weinstein defends this case. Without doxing her, privately send it to us. Don't dox her. Don't dox her on the internet, please.
Yeah. So that's the latest on that. We really weren't planning to address that, but it kind of evolved as we were getting ready to talk about the Karen Read case. So obviously we'll keep you posted. We have some very interesting sources in the Weinstein case, and we will bring you what we learn as we learn it. Okay, so let's talk Karen Read. Oh, wait a minute. Diddy, my $100 bill on the, I was offering $100 to anybody who would challenge that he was going to ever get out of jail on bail. I'll just keep that. Thank you very much. Okay, so
won't get you very far if you tend to use it, because the fake.
It's not fake. I just don't want to tell people I have a $100 bill laying around. Times are tough. Things are weird.
It's fake.
Okay, so let's talk Karen Read now.
Okay.
I was thinking, wouldn't it be weird if in this whole Karen Read matter, somehow the mob got involved in it, or somebody connected to the mob? And, my mind just started spinning out of control. And then I said, that's ridiculous. That could never happen. This case is weird enough. And yet what's happened now?
All right. So what has happened that the government announced today, the state announced today, that the team of prosecutors that were trying the case, well, they're still going to be there, but there is going to be a new lead prosecutor. And his name really doesn't matter, because what really matters for our discussion is he represented somebody called Whitey Bulger, who was on the lam, on the run for many years. He had been actually a source. He'd been given information to the FBI, and they were letting him kind of like, go here, go there. He was finally captured, and then Whitey Bulger was killed in prison when he was being transferred to a Florida prison, and somehow his security in prison was let down. But the attorney who's now going to lead the prosecution team is a defense attorney who represented Whitey Bulger. Can you tell us more about that, Michael?
Yeah, and the whole Whitey Bulger thing, and I think we have a couple of pictures of Whitey Bulger just to refresh folks' recollection. I mean, this goes back, we're talking back in the true gangster days, Las Vegas. He had quite the run. Ultimately, he was convicted of 11 different murders, given 2 consecutive life sentences, plus 5 years. And then in 2018, he was killed by 3 inmates who have all since either been convicted or pled to his murder and just had more time tacked on to their
So he got the death penalty.
So, well, I got 2 consecutive life sentences. Which state did he get the death penalty in?
In Florida, where he was killed in prison.
Well, that death penalty.
That death penalty.
Okay, so now, who was the lawyer most recently representing him? Because this guy's not that old. Hank Brennan is the guy's name. Hank Brennan. So I don't know if we have pictures of these folks or not. If not, then we'll have to provide them at some point down the road. Okay.
All right,
But
which we are, as I said, we're great lawyers, but we're not great engineers, and so we don't have the pictures for you today. But there's this thing called Google, and you can Google them because you're here to watch us. You're here not to see pictures that
I'm
you
here
can
to get
get.
those pictures on. That's my goal.
Okay, next
So
time.
anyway,
Next
what do you
time.
think of that? First of all, Morrissey, the DA involved, we thought, especially with the affidavits from the anonymous jurors saying, "Hey, there was a not guilty on 1 and 3," and we thought, if nothing else, that was going to slap the prosecutor in the face with some dose of reality. Like, you got a horrible case, especially on counts 1 and 3. Do you really want to go forward with this? Do you want to retry this? And it is set for retrial in January.
Well, the
This
question we
signals.
have, from one of our viewers from Athens is, will he be as zealous and ego-driven as Carrie Morrissey?
Well,
Well, I guess if he's, if he has accepted this to be a special prosecutor as a defense attorney to prosecute this case, you're doing it because you believe she's guilty. Because many defense attorneys have an ego. We've seen that. And I guess, the publicity here is going to be great
You
one way
think?
or another.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, that could be it.
let's compare Whitey Bulger to Karen Reed, just in
Okay.
terms of the level of criminality or alleged criminality. This is a parking ticket for this guy, this attorney, compared to defending Whitey Bulger. This is nothing, and I don't mean to minimize the death of John
Right.
O'Keefe. I'm
Right.
not.
Right.
But we're not talking about a career criminal here with a lot of bodies tagged to them. And so I had not heard much about this guy recently. Don't know what he's been up to. Don't know that he's been in the limelight. Certainly not in my orbit. So maybe it was just the opportunity to kind of bring a little star power to the prosecution side, because we know of the star power that's been on the defense side.
I love the comment that Morrissey did a great job prosecuting on the Baldwin case. So is this guy going to be like she is a special prosecutor? Because remember,
Oy.
she was a special prosecutor.
She was special, all right.
She certainly was special, but she kind of didn't know like the basic rules of what was that case that's so old that everybody knows it, that has to disclose evidence. Michael, come on, this is a test for you.
Oh, you're talking about Brady?
Brady, yeah, that's the case. So yeah,
I didn't know there was going to be a test today. I would have brought my Scantron.
Well, anyone can be better than Lally, says Sheila Duffy. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, the facts are the facts. The facts, you got to deal with the facts. You got to deal with the Proctor factor. I don't care who the prosecution is. Those things don't change.
They don't change. And what doesn't change is the fact that this still has to go to the Massachusetts Supreme Court, the Commonwealth, right? If there's, why not? I still don't understand. Bring the jury back. Bring the jury back. Ask them, did they come to a decision? What are we? We just want to try cases because we want to win. Prosecutors aren't supposed to just want to win. They're supposed to want to do justice. Now, yes, if there is a crime here, you want to convict the person convicted of a crime. But if somebody is found not guilty and there's double jeopardy, you want to do justice to our Constitution. And and then what? If the prosecutor screwed up the case to begin with, they screwed up the case. But how do you get a conviction, even with a special prosecutor, when 4 medical examiners or biomechanic engineers and all can't say that John O'Keefe was even hit by a car, nonetheless killed by a car?
Again, that's not going to change. I guess you could bring in your own hired gun that would refute those independent experts, but good luck with that. And I don't care if Proctor testifies or not. He's going to be a huge issue in the case. Yes, we know he's been fired. Yes, he's gone. That doesn't mean anything in terms of prosecuting this case. What he did, and that ain't going to change.
Well, except for the fact that the prosecution's not going to call him this time.
Well,
the defense is going to try to say
that doesn't matter. You're still going to be able to use what was done and said during the course of the investigation, which he led. Or you're going to look ridiculous because the lead investigator is not going to be testifying on behalf of the prosecution. What does that tell you?
Yeah,
you can't escape the Proctor factor. He is going to be a ghost hanging over this second trial.
Same defense team. Do you think that Yannetti and Alan Jackson, who you all know I tried the Spectre case and got a hung jury against, do you think that they're going to be trying this case against a special prosecutor who represented Whitey Bulger?
I think so, but maybe it's a money thing. I don't know what they did to be paid. I don't know how much it cost. I don't know if there was an arrangement made. We know both the defense attorneys have said we're in this. We're in it for the long haul. But does that mean they do it for free if they had to? I think money's the question there.
Yeah, Afton, good question. Will the jury be influenced by the media coverage after they've been discharged? And I think that's what the prosecution would say. Hey, we can't bring them in now because we don't really know what they decided at the time, because there's no record of what they decided, but other jurors snitching on them. So
yeah, it goes
that's
too
what the
far, and I
prosecution
don't
would
blame
say.
the court for not doing that.
I
think,
do. I do.
yeah,
You and
I
I
don't think
disagree on
that's.
this.
I think it's unrealistic to think that they're going to be sanitized somehow. They've left the process. They haven't talked to anybody. They haven't been influenced by anybody. They haven't changed their mind. I think that's unrealistic. I think that's fantasy land. I think the real problem is the judge should have nipped it in the bud when they came back with their final, we can't resolve this case.
Every judge says that I've ever been in, when they say they can't agree, every single judge I've ever been in said, well, have you agreed on any count?
Of course.
And they'll say, oh yeah, we are. Well, then you can come back and tell us what that count is that you've agreed on. She's the first judge I've ever heard that didn't do it.
Well,
okay?
And not only did she not do that, she set up that mistake by instructing them that they needed to come to a decision on all counts. So It makes it sound like in their minds, well, if we don't have it on all counts, we got nothing. And that's not necessarily true. But again, the judge screwed it up then, and she screwed it up again when not asking that question when they presented.
So I have one more question. Maybe our viewers can try to look at this and find out. How is it that a special prosecutor is allowed to be appointed in this case? And where are the meetings? Are they public? Are we going to be entitled to see the documents? Are we going to be entitled to see the decision-making process as to how this decision came to, who was hired? Because I tell you, if I'm a defense attorney, I'm at that right off the bat.
Okay, so how do you fix this?
How do you fix
look,
it?
Joanne is saying they got to replace the judge. Is there going to be some sort of recusal attempt, a la Young Thug?
A Young Thug, and then everyone's still trying to get to the same result because they all have lunch together. The judges are all friends. I mean, let's face it, the judges are protecting judges. They're not protecting. The system protects the system. All right, it doesn't say the system does anything wrong. But how do you fix it? You dismiss the 2 top counts to begin with. You dismiss those counts, and you say, okay, we're going to go on the counts that the jury said they actually had no decision on. And that's how you immediately fix it and remove that issue. And then you can see where it goes from there.
Well, let's see what happens it's on appeal. So the court's going to have to come up with something. They can throw it back to the trial court and say, this is the do-over. There's no way to fix this after the fact. And that, I think, is the most likely result. The question is that going to come before January's pending trial date? Are they going to have to push that date? We don't know. Or they could have some instruction. The appellate court could give the trial court some instruction about how to further investigate those, anonymous juror statements.
Yeah, and Taryn Dusty has it.
Find out more.
Talking about finding out more as who approves a special prosecutor, which we already discussed. But I assume that will cost a pretty penny. Is this person doing it for free?
Taxpayers.
Maybe the special prosecutor said, okay, free me, because you know what? The amount of publicity here is so great. Maybe you don't need to be paid.
I don't know if it would be free, but it could be low rent. I think it would look bad for them to do it free for the state. I think it would be, or the Commonwealth, sorry. I think it would be okay if they did it for the lowest level they might get paid, but free, I think, would be bad. That suggests an interesting motive. I don't think you want to dirty things up with that. So.
Well, I don't know. There's that case in Georgia, the RICO case involving the political figure that's Trump, right? And you remember there's a special prosecutor there that was appointed. This Fannie Willis appointed a special prosecutor who ended up being her boyfriend, and he got paid an awful lot.
He got paid more than
money.
Anybody's ever paid. And again, to my point, that was the opposite end of the spectrum. That's where overpayment became suspicious. I think zero payment becomes a little suspicious as well. There's a good question about double jeopardy there, Ms. Duffy, because there was no entry of acquittal. It's all out in the ether. It didn't actually happen. So
according to the court,
right? And the appellate court is going to have to wrestle with that and I think they're going to be hesitant to decide the case without it being further investigated. I don't think there's enough for the appellate court to say, oh, well, of course there was an acquittal on counts 1 and 3. That I don't think that's going to happen at the appellate level. If it's going to happen at all, it's going to be after it's kicked back to the trial court for further investigation prior to a new trial.
Well, so we had a lot of breaking news here. Just to go back, Harvey Weinstein, as you know, indicted one more additional count involving alleged oral sex back in 2006. We don't know who the victim is. Trial day of November. That was supposed to be the November date, is not going to hold. January, we understand from our sources, will be the earliest date that Weinstein would be tried. Right now, he is convicted of nothing. He is innocent until proven guilty. Karen Reed, new special prosecutor. This is a justice served, by the way. We came on because these were such big cases, breaking news. We had to have our viewers come in, talk to us about it. And that's still, by the way, next week. And by the way, for our viewers, remember, we want to have one of you on, 1 or 2 of you on. We want to tell us why you should be on. We want our viewers on with us, not just in this little box where we can read your questions. So we're going to get there. Which is also very great, because you have great questions, because your questions are the questions the jurors are going to have when they're in any of these cases. And the second thing is, next week, where is justice? We may not be here. We're going to be live, but where is justice? Find out. Tell us where justice is going to be, and you could win a mug.
Look at this. This is a 2-dimensional mug, and not to scale.
That's well, you're gonna have a real mug,
but assume. I don't drink coffee, so I don't know what to do with this. Yeah. So the deal is, we've already got, I think at least one hint has been out there. If we've not done a second one, it will be coming soon. The idea is, where are we going to be following, justice in whatever form it may be? Big trial you've been following, new trial, new story that maybe needs more attention. So the first one who lets us know via social media where we're going to be will win the coveted "Where in the World is Justice" mug, which will look much more like a mug. But I kind of like this one, actually. Works perfectly for me. So the first one to do that wins the mug. And that's the only way you can get one of these mugs. Not like you can go down to the store, buy one, Linda. You can't go to one of your designer outlets and get one of these mugs. It's going to have to be earned. So.
Okay, our viewers are going to earn it, because you know what? They're smart, Michael. They're very, very smart.
I agree.
Anyhow, thank you for joining us on this special edition of Justice Served to discuss this breaking news in these cases, and some of the news we've got from our sources of information that is not out there yet. And we'll keep you updated. If we have to go live again, we will. But if not, we will see you. I think we have an episode coming out on Monday. Don't we? Maybe.
Who knows? Maybe. Things are in flux, but we will definitely keep you posted.
We'll definitely be here Wednesday. And in thinking in advance, on October 2nd, we're going to be joined for our question and answer session here for you to ask Palm Beach State Attorney Dave Arenberg, who, by the way, has about 10 number 10s on Room Rater. He's going to be here as a special guest to answer your questions on all sorts of criminal cases, no holds barred.
Because there's nothing going on down in Palm Beach County. So we won't have much to talk about. Okay, see you next time, partner.
Bye.